In this video then guys, we shall be taking a look at the 1951 animated Disney classic movie, Alice in Wonderland. So without further ado, let's get into today's review. Let's get into it. So my thoughts then on this movie is that this is quite a boring and beige animated Disney classic movie. And I know what many people might be thinking, it was good at its time. And I agree with that. I think at the time it would have been probably one of the biggest animated movies out there. And the adaptation sides of things from the book is actually pretty good. However, for entertainment purposes and for enjoyment levels and rates and things like that, I think it's towards the bottom end. And I don't think it's aged well in that retrospect. As if for many of those that grew up like myself on the Tim Burton version of Alice in Wonderland, I think there's a big difference in what we see in both worlds. Obviously, there's a lot of similarities with how the characters dress, how the characters look, and how the story is, how she falls asleep and then goes into Wonderland, follows the rabbit, and then looks for the rabbit, basically. However, I think a lot of it is very different, as I feel that the Tim Burton version has more of a, like a stem, an overall build, because you know who the villain is. It's a Queen of Hearts, and you can see that there's a lot of villain activity, there's a lot of taking down the bad guy thing going on, whereas this one seems more like there's not a villain for like an hour of the movie, and then the last 20 minutes you get introduced to the Queen of Hearts, and then all these people that she's met along the journey is chasing her back through the hut, basically, into her waking up, in which is probably more, I can't say I've read the book myself, but I think that's more of a sort of based upon the book sort of thing. However, I think the dramatic stuff that the Tim Burton one does and brings it darker is the way to go with Alice in Wonderland, in my personal opinion. Furthermore, on Alice in Wonderland, this version is that it uses the food and drink of eat me and drink me to grow and shrink way too much. I feel that the Tim Burton version gets it just right with the consistent amount of how many times they use it, whereas this one, it feels like it's every 5 fucking minutes. I'm not even joking there. Honestly, at the beginning, I got that, why she wanted to shrink into Keel. It's very similar in retrospect to the Tim Burton one, getting through the door and shit. However, I think they use it way too much throughout, and then it sort of loses its uniqueness of being different because they use it every 5 fucking minutes. So on that retrospect, I like it, but it does get old very, very quickly in this movie. Moving on then, back onto the villain side of things. Like we mentioned, the villain was used for about 20 minutes in this hour and 20 minute long film. And to me, that was kind of pathetic because she, the Queen of Hearts, was a perfect villain, and we would be talking right now that she's on the level likes of Cruella de Vil, the likes of Scar, the likes of Jafar, those sorts of iconic Disney villains. However, you're not talking about her in the same breath due to the fact that she's used for 20 minutes of the entire movie, which is ridiculous. For a villain in a Disney classic movie, that is pretty ridiculous. And I feel that the overall flow of the movie would have been better if they'd used her in that same retrospect, like in Lion King, Aladdin, and then 101 Dalmatians as well. I also thought that the iconic characters were a big part of this movie, and the only thing really that really stood out in this movie, and because obviously I haven't read the book like many have, but I know the characters and the iconic characters from the Alice in Wonderland, not just because of the new movie, but in general, the likes of the Mad Hatter, the likes of the Rabbit, the likes of the Caterpillar, and the Queen of Hearts as well, all these iconic characters that we're very, very familiar with. I liked them in this movie. I thought they weren't a problem. I thought the story element around it, connecting all of the characters, was a bit off. However, the interactions that we see with Alice and the characters seem to be pretty good and entertaining, especially with the Caterpillar, like going, "Who are you?" and everything like that. I thought that element of things worked. and I thought the goofy characters as well, not just normal characters, these goofy ass characters were really funny at times and made the movie entertaining whilst having a weak story. So in a way, I think those weird and wacky characters really helped drag this movie through the mud at times, because if you didn't have some of those iconic characters in there, I think this movie would have, and obviously you might be thinking then there won't be a story without these characters, but there weren't really a story anyways with these characters, so the only thing to rely on really was these characters keeping it that entertaining to give you that thrill and that boost that Disney movies always give you, and this lacked that in my opinion. Finally then, I thought that the actors and actresses that did the voiceovers for this iconic animated Disney classic movie, and though I'm not a big fan, I thought the actors did their job. And there was nothing really wrong with the voiceovers, so I thought the likes of Kathryn Beaumont, Ed Wines, Richard Haydn, Sterling Holloway, Verna Felton and Jerry Colonna were all exceptional in doing the voiceovers for these iconic characters. To summarise this movie then, this iconic Disney movie, I think that my vision on what I thought this movie would be, the 1951 version, it was tampered with by watching the 2010 Alice in Wonderland movie, due to the fact that that one was clearly better and that this one is completely different to that one. And since I watched that one first, the 2010 one, it sort of like showed me what a good Alice in Wonderland is and why this one could be 10 times better. Hence why I rate this movie a 6.3 out of 10 and a average film. So let me know down in the comments down below what your thoughts are. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it crap? Is it amazing? Let me know down in the comments down below, please. Also, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all new content that this channel creates, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Later.